This is 6 Minutes, the seriously international daily newscast. It's Thursday, February the 20th, and I'm Anne-Sophie Goninet.
And I'm Jacob Shropshire. Residents of Jakarta are headed to dinner, and it's breakfast time in Lima. Here in the World Crunch newsroom in Paris, it's just after midday. These are the latest headlines. Israel receives the bodies of 4 Gaza hostages. EU leaders back Zelensky after Trump calls him a dictator. And our daily quiz question comes to us from the UK's art scene. As part of the ongoing ceasefire agreement, Israel has for the first time received the bodies of Israeli hostages held by Hamas. The 4 dead are said to include 3 members of the Bibas family, Mother Shiri and her 2 children who have been long feared dead, as well as Oded Lifshitz, a veteran peace activist who was 83 when he was abducted. The militant group claims all 4 were killed in an Israeli strike more than a year ago.
European leaders, including the UK's Keir Starmer and Germany's Olaf Scholz, defended Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky on Thursday after US President Donald Trump called him a dictator and falsely blamed Ukraine for starting the war that began with Russia's invasion. French President Emmanuel Macron posted on X that, quote, Ukraine must always be included and its rights respected. Both Macron and Starmer are expected to travel to the White House early next week to discuss the war in Ukraine. Foreign ministers from the G20 are set to meet on Thursday and Friday in Johannesburg amid tensions among members over the Ukraine war and trade disputes. U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio said he wouldn't attend the summit due to diplomatic tensions between South Africa and the U.S., sparked by President Trump's executive order to stop foreign aid to the country.
The world's glaciers are melting faster than previously expected, with a new study published in the journal Nature showing that global ice loss was 36% higher over the past 10 years than over the 10 years before that. Since the turn of the century, researchers say that glaciers around the world have lost 5% of their volume, with 273 billion tons of ice melting each year. Scientists call the findings concerning. Now, let's take a closer look at what the international press is covering.
German daily Die Tageszeitung writes about the fiery exchange between Presidents Trump and Zelensky, headlining Trump, Ukraine started the war, in brackets. Nobody believes that. In South Korea, the Korea Times reported on impeached leader Yoon Suk-yeol becoming the country's first sitting head of state to stand trial in a criminal case, as hearings opened Thursday on his bid to impose martial law in December. Police arrested the 60-year-old former prosecutor on charges of insurrection last month after a week-long standoff at his residential compound. If convicted, Yoon could be sentenced to life in prison or face the death penalty.
2 human rights watchdogs, Iran Human Rights and Together Against the Death Penalty, reported today that Iran escalated the pace at which it was carrying out the death penalty, executing 975 people last year. The group said the figure is the highest since they started counting in 2008. We also have an article from Lebanon-based outlet Daraj on Trump's scheme to take over Gaza and displace the 2.1 million Palestinians living there, and the pressure it has put on Egyptian President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi. Anne-Sophie, break down this story for us.
Reed Matter writes for Daraj that as much as Egypt might not like it, Trump has a powerful hand going into this situation. He writes, despite vehement rejection from Cairo and Amman, major U.S. allies in the Middle East, Trump is insisting on his proposal, which has shaken the region. Egypt has begun lobbying to counter Trump's plan. Sisi spoke by phone with Arab, European, and Asian leaders, as well as the United Nations chief, according to the president's spokesman. Egypt, however, could pay a price for its position. Sisi is in a difficult situation, either accepting Trump's suggestion of moving Palestinians to Egypt or opposing his proposal. The latter would likely lead Washington to cut aid to Egypt, including military assistance, and that could destabilize Egypt. And from Brazilian investigative news outlet Agência Pública, we have a piece about Andes Mall, a series of shops built with money paid to the indigenous people of the Caco area in Guyana. The community was the last to give in and signed a contract with the government that determined the conversion of the forest into carbon credits. Though the agreement requires Guyana's government to pay for the protection of the forest, some say they were coerced into signing the agreement.
We're closing things out today with a daily quiz question which comes to us from the UK. An artist from Bournemouth in the UK has set a world record for what kind of sculpture? Is it A, the tallest tower of baked beans, B, the smallest Lego construction, C, the biggest teacup, or D, the longest London bus? The correct answer is B. David Linden, a micro artist from Bournemouth, has set a new Guinness World Record for creating the smallest handmade sculpture with a red Lego piece measuring only 0.02517 millimeters by 0.02184 millimeters. Linden, an engineer by training, says the sculpture is about the same size as a human white blood cell.
That's the latest from around the world. If you like this podcast, we'd really appreciate if you could help us out with a follow, share, and a 5-star rating on your preferred podcasting platform. For more of the best of the international press, delivered exclusively in English every day, visit us at worldwatch.com. We'll see you here tomorrow. À demain!